Can you remember the First World War
Yes,
beginning?
I can. I was very upset because I thought my brother would have to go. My eldest brother wasn't physically fit to go. He had to live in the country with the fresh air. But my second brother was a very fine man, and he did go and was out in France. But it said the things that he saw were horrifying, terrible, terrible. The officer called for two good strong chaps, and there was another boy from Gotherington. He lived up Manor Lane. He was a fine strapping boy, and my brother. Those two were picked, and their job was the Lewis gun, one that they could move a bit, and it had been left behind close to the German lines, and they had to go and fetch it. Well, it fell up to my brother to go and fetch it in the end. And he crawled so far. He walked as far as he could, and then he crawled in the mud all over it, and located the gun. And he said, fortunately, there was a piece of rope nearby. So he got that, and he tied it onto the gun, and then round his waist, and he crawled through the mud with that Lewis gun until he felt he was in a safe distance away. And he then stood up and pulled it through all the mud to the lines and got it back again.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Tell me about the end of the First World War.
Well, as far as I know, it had been expected, and we'd been washing. Mum and I had been doing the washing, as we did every week. My mother's washing was just like driven snow. There was no chemicals put in it in those days. Anyway, yeah. And it had been expected, and then the church bells rang. I think about 11 o'clock in the morning or something like that. And I put everything down like that, and I ran up the lane to the house at the top, where a very old lady lived there, Mrs. Butler. And and she was inclined to be deaf. And I rang up and told her the news. Oh, she was so pleased. And that night, there was a church service put on at 7 o'clock at night. And Mum and I walked over to Cleve and went to church.
How did your father celebrate the end of the First World War?
He didn't say much about it that I remember, except that he was thankful it was and the thing was to wait to hear from my brother that he was all right. I can't feel happy until that happens. But we couldn't get my brother to talk about the war very much. It's too dreadful for words, And he always remembered two very young boys being out there. They must have put their age up to get out there. And they were absolutely petrified. He said he often wondered what happened to them, but I should imagine that they were pretty good targets. And he never forgot it. Those two young boys. So that they were remembered in one way with somebody.